Hello, my dear people. How are you? Hope everything okay. So this moment that we are starting, we just want really to know that everything is perfect, that you can hear us good. So you have the chat here on the side. Please write down if you can hear us good, if the volume is okay for you. Thank you very much for taking your time to be here with us. We just want to know really that everything is perfect to start. And we can't wait to have this beginning because for a long time that we receive a lot of questions regarding the musicality, and we want here to try to help you the best we can to allow you to get more
Thank
you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So we are very nervous because it's more or less the first time that we are doing something like this, and we have here almost like a TV set prepared. But as we don't have a big team for that, we need to do everything, the technicians, the lecture, so everything at the same time. So I cross fingers that everything will be perfect. So I will start recording this. In case that something goes wrong, I have a backup plan here. So supposedly everything is okay. So 7 p.m. here in Portugal. At least here it is 7 p.m. For sure at your hometown. You can be in different parts of the world and you're gonna have different time zones, and that's why we are recording all of this. And we have more than 500 people that get registered for this webinar, and that way we're gonna share the link after to see it, okay? Un beso muy grande para mi gente de España, de América Latina. Espero que realmente vuestro inglés esté bien. Nosotros vamos a hablar principalmente en inglés, pero si tienes alguna duda, al final podemos dar la explicación en español, en castellano.
Y aunque aquí en el chat, ¿sí? Que pueden comunicar por ahí también.
Perfect. So let's start this Kizomba Musicality Webinar. First of all, I want to do here a disclaimer because we are not musicians, and that's why I think maybe for you it will be even better because we will not use so much technical information regarding music. We will share the result of several years of researching, of listening a lot of music, and having the opportunity to meet a lot of people that understand a lot to this. So I want to share first some of the points of research that we use. First of all, my big brother from another mother, Pechu, that hope that you know him. Pechu is a very important person regarding Angolan culture, and he have a lot of knowledge. So every time I have some question, some doubt, I go to him to try to request that information. DJ Costa, that is an Angolan DJ that lived for a long time in the UK, and now it's back to Portugal, and he's doing an amazing job of collecting this information and sharing in a lot of lectures this information of musicality. Of course, Eduardo Paim, we had the lucky to meet him in person, and for those that don't know, Eduardo Paim is considered the father of Kizomba music in Angola. He was the one that baptized this genre of music as Kizomba. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but we have this opportunity to listen in the first person what he had to say of what he lived on that time. In a more recent period, and here I do you also an advice if you have this opportunity, there is a Cuban musician that is called Yasman Santos that is living in Angola, and he's doing an amazing work regarding collecting the traditional Angolan music and learn it and share it also with the young generations. And he's so kind that most of the times he records a lot of videos and share on his YouTube channel. So Yasman Santos, you will know the name because we're going to share here some videos in the forward of this webinar, and you can write down the name and do your research also. We had the luck to listen a lot of music live with live bands, some of them on this stage that we are because we are in our home in Muxima, and we are on the stage of Muxima, and we had the luck of having here Paulo Flores, Eduardo Paim, Messias Maricoa, so many musicians, so many artists that we had the chance to talk with them and to watch them playing live. So this is always a good thing to watch music, not only to listen. Then we had the lucky also to listen musicians on the first word when we travel to some festivals like London that have many times live music, and they bring the musicians to talk in some lectures in order that they can share their knowledge.
And like Lisbon also?
Yeah, I said like
London.
Oh, like London, no, like Lisbon. Yeah. Like Lisbon was the idea. And there is a channel on YouTube also that is called DNA Kizomba, like the DNA of Kizomba DN, that is played by Carlos Pedro, that is a journalist that work in the RDP, Radiodifusão Portuguesa, or Radio África, something like that.
Yeah.
RDP, I think so. So he made an amazing work of talking with a lot of musicians from the old generation and from the new generation. And you can find these interviews where each musician will share their experience and their path and their evolution. The good thing is that a lot of these interviews are subtitled in English, so if you don't understand Portuguese, you can have access to this. So all of these together, plus our personal experience, listening to a lot of music and talking with a lot of people, we were able to collect some information, and we were able to create a kind of musicality for dummies. We play with that, like that yellow books that you find with marketing for dummies, Excel for dummies, software for dummies.
Cooking for dummies.
Exactly. So we create here some tools that are able to understand better the difference. Now,
even some documentaries that we saw, and some books that we also read. It's more about Ricardo that...
As we travel already to Angola, Paula born there, although everything she knows regarding Kizomba, she starts learning here. We had the opportunity when we went there to go to the radio, to go to the television, to talk with musicians, see live music, and including to go to a bookstore where we could find amazing books with Angolan culture music. Also some other friends, some co-workers that are not from Angola, like Quenda Lima, Elio Santos, Zé Barbosa from the Cape Verde side, Tomás Keita from Guinea-Bissau. So talking with other artists that are native from these countries and they grow with this culture, we are able also to collect here some information. But we're gonna go a little bit deeper regarding this. We want to thank you also for those that took your time to send us your top questions. And we split your top questions in three main areas. One top question, or one area connected to the music, other area connected to the dance, and other area connected to other stuff, including there were questions regarding how to teach, lifestyle, relationship. So we will not go in that direction. Even we will not go also in the dance direction. We just have 1 hour. Even just to talk about music, it's a few time, okay? So we're gonna give you guidelines in order that you can start your path, or to bring more clearness on the things that you already know, okay? So regarding the music, the musicality for the dance, we're gonna present you other ways of getting knowledge to that, okay? So at the end of this webinar, we're gonna give you some topics regarding this. So, to don't lose here...
Hello to everybody that is saying here on chat, hello, hello. It's very nice to have you, all of you there. Thank you very much for taking your time with us and with this webinar, yeah? Thank you.
So, it's not a history webinar, it's about music, but first we need to know from where we come in order that we can know where we go. And we don't want you to memorize all of this. Remember that you can pick up this after and you can take your notes. You should take your notes. And it's possible that at the end of this webinar, you will get a little bit more confused, okay? But in our perspective, the confusion is the beginning of the clear view. When you realize that you don't know something, this is the moment that you place yourself in a position of learning, of understanding, because happy of those that don't know nothing, okay? When you don't know nothing, you don't know your fears, you don't know your lacks, so it's just a question of being able to bring some information, and after that, you create a path, okay?
Hello, hola Magda.
So, we will start from the place where the Kizomba born. First of all, Kizomba. For sure, most of you know, but Kizomba, it's an Angolan word from an Angolan dialect called Kimbundu that means party. And this word since ever exists when people were used to say, talking to each other, let's go to the party, let's go to have fun, let's go to the Kizomba. And when the musical style appeared, there was no dance style, talking about Kizomba. And we are talking about Angola, okay? Other countries, they had similar evolution, but they never call it Kizomba at this beginning, because this was, in fact, or this is, in fact, an Angolan word. So, on the late 70s, Angola was in a revolution, in a civil war. They were going out of the colonization from the Portuguese. They were inside with different factions supported by the Union, the Soviet Union, by the communists and the Cubans, one side to the MPLA, and the other side supported UNITA, being supported by the Americans. So, because Angola, you know, that is a very rich country regarding natural resources. They have petrol. They have gold, they have diamonds, they have everything there. So it's a place that there are a lot of economical interest. But this to tell you that during this period, the musical production was mainly directed to the revolution. So there was a young generation of musicians where Eduardo Paim made part, together with his group SOS, that they decided to create something new, but something to have fun. So they collect a lot of, like when you do a cocktail, you have a lot of ingredients, and they collect a lot of ingredients, they mix it up, and they create something new. Highly influenced by samba, it's true, but it was not samba. So the old generation told them, look, young kids, this is cool, but this is not samba, so that's why you need to arrange a new name. And in a very naive way, what they made is to call Kizomba, because they want to do music for fun, for party. And in Angola, this new generation of music starts being called like that. And we are not still talking about Zouk. We're gonna get there, because Zouk music, that also means party and comes from the French Carib. For those that know the Brazilian Zouk, we are not talking about this one. We are talking about the Zouk from the French Carib, Guadeloupe, Martinique, was a big influence to the Kizomba that we know nowadays. But at that time, there was not Zouk at all, okay? There was some of the influences that helped Zouk to appear, also helped the Angolan first Kizomba to appear. And this was a knowledge that we get only when we were able to talk with Eduardo Paim. Because in one hand it's good, but in another hand it gives us more difficulty to study, as Angolan culture mainly is passed through words, through generation. Not like in Europe that we register more the things. Nowadays this work is being done, but when we start studying, we didn't have access to this information. And only when we met Eduardo Paim was the moment that we were able to know that this Kizomba movement already started before this big boom that happened in the middle 80s with the appearance of Zouk music and Kassav. Okay? So, when we talk about this Kizomba, we talk about the PALOP countries. And the PALOP is a word that means Países Africanos de Língua Oficial Portuguesa, that the translation is African countries with Portuguese as official language. Basically, these were the countries that were colonies from the Portuguese. And Paulo will write down, because it's important to know these names. We have Angola, we have Cape Verde, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, and Saint Tomé and Príncipe. Okay, so these 5 countries make the PALOP. And each one of these countries, they have their own culture, they have their own roots, their own music. But we cannot forget that in Africa there is an instrument that creates a connection between all of them, that is the drum. We cannot forget that the drum born in Angola, born in Africa. And from Africa during the slavery time, it was spread all over the world. And it's like when you go in a travel, you bring in your luggage your stuff, and when you get there to the place that you arrive, you mix the stuff that you bring in your luggage and you bring back something different, something that had influence. And this was what happened when the drums and the music that was taken from the slavery time back home, they already brought some influences that came to influence the native place. Okay, so without losing a little my mind, I want here to talk about the main rhythm from each country, the PALOP country, that mixed with other styles of music create their specific Kizomba. And I want to tell you that nowadays the word Kizomba have a different meaning from these times, from the 70s and the 80s, because nowadays Kizomba grow to something much bigger than an individual country. Nowadays, Kizomba, it's like, I think the best expression that I listened till today is a cultural movement. It's like hip-hop. Hip-hop, it's a cultural movement that inside of the movement have a lot of things. You have music, different styles of music, ways of dressing, ways of lifestyle. So in the Kizomba nowadays, it's more or less the same because you have a lot of different influences from different parts. So this to tell you that these countries had specific rhythms that are traditional and fusioned with other styles of music, they get something new. So in Angola, Paula will write down, you have the numbers, one is Angola, you had samba. Samba was the rhythm that was native, traditional, and even the traditional samba suffer evolutions, but we're gonna get there. But this, mixed with other styles, create their Kizomba. Then in Cape Verde, they had coladera. That is also a beautiful rhythm from the islands of Cape Verde. In Mozambique, marraventa. And at the beginning, it was not too active, the influence of Mozambican music production, but in the middle of 2000, 2010, 2012, suddenly the Mozambican producers wake up and they start like bringing a lot of music production that all of us enjoy and we dance a lot on the dance floor. Then in Guinea-Bissau, we have Gumbe, the land of Tomás Keita, Rico Suave. Gumbe, it's the traditional rhythm that fusioned with other styles, create their own Kizomba, that they call it differently, of course. Then we have, in Saint Tomé and Príncipe, we have Puita. So each one of these rhythms, they have ways of dancing, they have ways of expression, including the samba, for example. The first samba music was not danced in couple, it was a carnival dance. We're gonna talk a little bit about the instruments of samba and what makes a samba, but it's important for you to know that the way of dancing was evolving and changing. And all these countries, they had something in common, that were the Portuguese as a colonizer. And as almost all the colonizers, they try to take off the things that they don't understand, like the language, like some habits that the native people have. So it's sad, but it's a fact. And in somehow, they try to implement their own culture. And some of these countries, we are saying that they also had other colonizers. So you start having here a lot of mixes, like in Cape Verde, they were colonized also by the Dutch, the Holland people. That's why you find some of the most beautiful and exotic people in the world in Cape Verde, because you will find like dark-skinned people with blue eyes and blonde straight hair, so it's like really, really exotic. And this makes part of all the evolution, and that's why we are talking about this. So, we need to understand that this influence happened for a lot of different reasons. We can have political reasons, economical reasons, technological reasons, and I want to share with you here a situation that happened on the 70s. For sure you heard about this. That was an event that was called the Rumble of the Jungle. And this was a fight, a boxing fight between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. And this was some kind of great event, because associated to the fight, before it happened a music festival, and this was in Africa, Kinshasa, I think it was in Kinshasa. So associated to that, a lot of musicians were taken there and they created music festival. There was no internet that time, so the access to the different stuff was not so easy. So having this massive influence live, this generates a change on the music production in a lot of regions from Africa. And I can tell you that, for example, at this time on the 70s, the Fania All-Stars, that were a label that make the reborn of salsa, and they create the label of salsa music, and they pick up all these musicians and create something that create a label. That is the best explanation, because you have different rhythms inside of the salsa umbrella. Guaracha, guajira, guaguancó, mambo, son. So all of this, if you call salsa, it's easier. And the Fania All-Stars create this label. And they took Tito Puente, Celia Cruz, all these artists, amazing artists, to the festival, the Rumble of the Jungle, including from the United States, you had the James Brown. So the funk music had a big influence. what happened? The musicians that were native, they receive this kind of information. The people that were there, they connect to this kind of sonority, so they start demanding. And by a need of keep working and being on the market, the native musicians start producing their own ways of Latin music, their own ways of funk music, and you start having here, my God, a big fusion. You will find African productions of salsa, mambo music that you don't know, in fact, if they are from Latin America or if they are from Africa. So this just to show you that this kind of influences and this kind of miscellaneous stuff already come from a long time, okay? You have the pop music from Michael Jackson, that was a big influence. You have an artist in Cape Verde that is called Gil Semedo. He creates a style of music that he called Cabo Pop or Cabo Swing, that is nothing more than an imitation of Michael Jackson music. Even his outfit, his way, his face, the way that he dressed, he looks like Michael Jackson, and it's assumed. But what happened? And this, I'm going a little bit more forward, but just to make you hear a bridge. New styles appear all the time. The thing is, to create a new style, you need to have followers. If you have followers, you will have a new style, assumed. If you don't have followers, it will stay back. So Gil Semedo, Cabo Swing and Cabo Pop, it was something that he created. But in fact, it didn't have so much followers in order that other artists start also producing, in order that to increase the market of these new styles. So it almost died with him, okay? It stays only with him, it didn't develop. Not what happened, for example, with Kizomba, but we're gonna get there. Hip-hop music, R&B, the electronic music, the new styles of Kizomba that we have nowadays were highly influenced by hip-hop, R&B, and also the EDM, the electronic music. We're gonna get there also. Even the Zouk music, when it appeared in the middle 80s, was a big explosion all over the world. I remember talking with Albir, I don't know if he's here, but Albir, that born in Panama, he look, he's in Panama, he's in the Latin America. He remembers of listening at his home music from Kassav, this Zouk music. So these things, and the Zouk music just was massive all over the world. So what happened? The same thing of the Rumble in the Jungle. There was a demand. When they got to Africa, the people connect to that music, so they start demanding. And the musicians had the need to create their own styles of Zouk. There was no school teaching how to do it. So together with their influence, together with their instruments, their tools, what they made was to create their own style of Zouk. Once again, we're gonna get there. I'm just doing here like a preparation to what it comes. So the political and economical and technological influences also allow the evolution or the changing or the mutation, call it as you want, to happen. For example, like I told you, in Angola, as they were in the civil war, the production of music was more revolutionary. The young generation wanted music for fun, so they create something new. When you start having evolution of equipments, the studios are better, so the sonority gets more clean. It's not so rough like it was before. So here you have a change. You have access to other equipments that will be able to do a mastering of the music that will give different sonorities, different instruments, different equipments like softwares. You can start producing music at home. Then you have the internet, the globalization. I'm not a musician, I study a little bit, but I also produce some music. I have a software, I have some taste, so I can produce. And like this, you start opening the door of a lot of mixes and you start losing the essence of the things. That's why it's important that each country do a work, mainly the ministries of culture, do a work of research, do a work of documentation in order that they can keep at least the roots authentic, in order that the ones that come after can drink from this knowledge. And for example, Cuba, it's an amazing example of that. They have schools, they have university. If you want to study the Cuban dances, the Cuban music, you can go to a school to learn that, to a university. Unfortunately, in Africa, most of the African countries don't have that. It starts now a little bit, like Yasman Santos, the work that he's doing in Angola, it's amazing. And you can see their videos, can watch their videos, and you see young kids from Angola being taught by a Cuban musician that fell in love by this culture. And this musician keeps learning with the older generations, the ones that have the knowledge, and they need to pass this knowledge to the younger generation in order that they can get to the future. Okay? Oh my God, something happened here.
The
I
computer.
lost here something. Okay, it returns. Good. So,
now,
here, let's go now to an amazing word that was made by DJ Tocosta, that is the Kizomba umbrella. This expression of Kizomba umbrella, really, it's the best catalog that I can find to define what we have on the social parties, okay? So Kizomba umbrella, like the name says, imagine an umbrella, that on the top you have Kizomba, and then you have different, different areas where you'll find different genres of music. But if you call it Kizomba, it's almost the same. It's like the styles of music that you can dance Kizomba. So here you start mixing the word Kizomba for music and for dance. Before we go here, I forgot to tell that the word Kizomba was from Angola, but then Portugal started receiving a lot of immigrants from the PALOP countries for several reasons. They want better studies condition, they want better life conditions, they were running away from the war, and they started hanging out in communities, in parties, as students. So the word Kizomba started being spread to this style of music from Eduardo Paim that was huge success even here in Portugal, together with Paulo Flores and Ruca Van Dunen, these artists that create this new style of music. At this time, already highly influenced by Zouk, okay? What I want to say here more.
It was in Portugal?
Yes, in Portugal was the place, mainly in Lisbon, that the word started traveling. And at the beginning, again, connected to the music, because other countries had different names for their own way of producing Zouk. That's why a lot of purists say that Kizomba as a music style does not exist. Because in fact, and I'm going to show you here a video that will be easier for you to understand, the Zouk music brought something that creates a pattern, like a cliff, like a clave, like you have the salsa clave. The Zouk music brought something that creates a similarity between all the productions of these countries. So it starts being closer to what we know nowadays as Kizomba. And we are speaking about middle 80s till the end of the 90s or middle 90s, because then after the beat starts slowing down, the electronic music starts appearing, and the changes keep going. So inside of the Kizomba umbrella, we're gonna start by the Zouk, okay? Because like this, it's easier to create this tree. So Zouk music is a style of music that comes from Guadeloupe and Martinique. They were highly influenced also by compas. Compas is a style of music that comes from Haiti, and compas also was a style of music that was already consumed in Africa, and that also allowed these styles to start appearing, even before the Zouk. And this is a border that I want you to understand, that there was a music revolution happening in all these countries already, but the Zouk music on the middle 80s was something that pushed up forward. And that's why a lot of people consider that the percussion pattern of Kizomba is exactly the same as Zouk. But each one of these countries have different flavors due to the instruments that they use, due to the language that they sing, due to the backgrounds that they have, that in fact they create something new. It was not a Zouk, it was Zouk influenced, but it was not a Zouk. So here we're gonna have some of these rhythms that can be the Kizomba. So Kizomba from Angola. Angolan Kizomba is the one that we are talking now. In Cape Verde, they made a fusion from coladeira and Zouk, and they call it Cola Zouk. So coladeira and Zouk, Cola Zouk. And interesting data, it was mainly in Holland, where a big community of Cape Verdean immigrants were living, and the paternity of this fusion is given to the group Livity by the lead vocal Jorge Neto, that unfortunately passed away last year also, and they create this style of Cola Zouk, that the sonority was different from the Kizomba made in Angola, although they have patterns similar, but they have their specific things that bring a specific flavor. And then we have also the Afrozouk. So here I have a story to tell you, because this was one of the questions that appear regarding the names. We were in a Like Festival in Lisbon, and in the same weekend, João Rocha and Rui, they bring us the joy of listening one of the days Tabanca Jazz, that is a group from Guinea-Bissau, the ones that created the Kizomba from Guinea-Bissau, and also Grace Evra, that is a contemporary musician from Livity. He was one of the leaders of Splash, another group that create this Kolazouk also on the late 80s, beginning of the 90s. So it was interesting to listen two different stories from two groups of musicians that were more or less from the same generation. So Tabanca Jazz from Guinea-Bissau, they said that they start playing as a band in a restaurant. And they were playing their traditional music, gumbe and other styles. And then with the zouk, there was a demand from the customers that they wanted to listen zouk, but they didn't know how to play zouk. So what they do, they create their own style of zouk. They fusion the gumbe, the flavor of the guitars, and create that they also call it the meia batida, because gumbe music is fast, so meia batida is like half tune, so it's like a slower gumbe with that feeling of the zouk. And I asked them, if we call Kizomba to the style of music that you produce, you consider that is correct? And they said, no, for us it's strange to listen that, because we consider that Kizomba is from Angola. If you need to call a name to the style of music that we do, we would call it Afrozouk. But you will find Afrozouk music in a lot of different countries that don't make part of the PALOP. If you go to the Cameroon, Nigeria, South Africa, you have a lot of Afrozouk music production that is different from these productions from the PALOP, but Tabanca Jazz, they consider that their music is Afrozouk. But in somehow, either they like it or not, it's in fact inside of the Kizomba umbrella. Then we go to Grace Evra, that is a musician that traveled all over the world, even inside of the Kizomba festivals. So we have a different perspective, a more open perspective. And I made the same question to him. And his answer was, look, I do music for people have fun. My big intention is to share my passion, to share my love. If the people want to call it Kizomba, for me, there is no problem. So here you can find already the differences, and I'm not telling that one is correct and the other is wrong. I'm just trying to tell you that sometimes we as dancers, we create fights and problems where we don't need to have them. Of course, it's important to know, but sometimes even the musicians don't have the things well cataloged, with labels well defined, because the musicians are also creative people. Musicians, they want also to allow their stamp to stay to the future, so they bring different sonorities. They do laboratory research, mixing one thing and another. So it's difficult to tell you when you start creating these fusions what is what. You can tell that have an influence. We should know what traditional music is in fact. So this is also one of the reasons that we don't consider that Kizomba traditional Kizomba, it's a proper term, because traditionals are samba. Even the samba, you have samba that is not traditional. You have the traditional samba, you have the traditional coladeira, traditional gumbe. But even these traditional rhythms also suffered some evolution, some changes. So Kizomba, Afrozouk, Kolazouk is already a fusion. It's not correct to call it traditional. So in somehow, what we consider that is better is
classical Kizomba, as we have in salsa. We have classical salsa.
Because it's music made mainly with acoustic instruments that have this flavor. Even in nowadays, you can have music done this year that can have the feeling of the classical Kizomba. Or like in the zouk world, you have the retro zouk, because it's zouk music made already for a long time, but not traditional. That not make sense. And this is the why that we are explaining. So the evolution starts going, and you start receiving the influences from the electronic music. And here is the moment that in Angola appear what they call tarraxinha. So tarraxinha in Portuguese, it's like little screwing. A tarraxar is a verb that means to screw, okay? And nowadays we have other genders that we cannot control because they have followers. And this was also some of the questions that appear regarding the tarraxo. I will be honest with you, I still have difficulty to accept this, okay? So I will give you our point of view. Tarraxinha is the music, is also the dance. When you say tarraxo, it's a conjugation of the verb atarraxar. So some songs, you're gonna listen the singer saying tarraxo, eu tarraxo, because it's the conjugation of the verb I do this action. But some songs have stronger beat than others. The producers, the home producers also start creating their own feelings. And then there were some artists, dancers, that start creating definitions between what is the umbrella of tarraxinha, that have different directions. They start trying to find difference on the musical construction, and as they want to apply a different body movement and body expression, and they wanted to create a label, they wanted to create a brand, they call it tarraxo to a specific style of dance, and they start using this specific style of dance with a specific style of tarraxinha music, that they start calling it tarraxo. So, again, in my opinion, tarraxo does not exist as a style of music, does not exist as a style of dance. But there are trends and there are movements that are having a lot of followers. So maybe, and we need to open our mind, it's a fact nowadays. But I want you to tell you where it comes from, because for sure, these ones that create that, it was by ignorance. And I don't say that in a wrong way, in a bad way. It's really because they didn't know. So as they didn't know, they invent something. And
they didn't know the Portuguese.
Yes.
The meaning.
As they invent, they had followers and start working good. Okay? So this was the electronic music to dance in couple inside of the Kizomba coming from Angola. And mainly were the Kuduro producers, Kuduro music from Angola, fast tempo, mixing from techno music, house music, and samba and kazukuta, that start slowing down the BPM because it's music with really minimalist construction. And the first tarraxinha songs were mainly instrumental. And they bring the beats to the clubs, and usually the clubs have an MC. And the MC, above the music, were shouting some names, like saying hi to the people. Hello, you that are arriving here, you are doing this strong tarraxo to this lady, ba 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 ba. So these were the first lyrics on the tarraxinha music. Even when they recorded, it was like that. So like this, the voice were more like an instrument to give flow, not to have a lyric. But then even tarraxinha suffer evolution, okay? The Cape Verdeans, mainly Johnny Ramos, he want to create also something for his generation. So he pick up the kola zouk, the Cape Verdean music, and they mix it up with hip-hop and R&B, because his main objective was to pick up his music and bring it to the club. So for that, you need to slow down the BPM, you need to bring higher bass, higher kick, and also the lyrics, things from their generation. Going out to the club, flirting with girls and men. So it was a kind of zouk, but with a ghetto feeling because of the hip-hop influence. So that's why ghetto zouk started appearing. What happened? He released a song talking about this, ghetto zouk. The people start connecting, start calling it ghetto zouk to that. And other musicians saw there an opportunity, and they start calling also ghetto zouk, talking about this on the lyrics, and suddenly a new style appeared, okay? It's like, I didn't talk about that, but it's like the zouk music. The song that made, I'm gonna show you after, that made the zouk music being called like that, it was a music from Kassav that is called Zouk la Selseme de Kamano Nui. That means the party is the only medicine that we have. So as the music was so popular, the people start associating this song to this gender that other musicians and groups start creating. So like this, the name zouk start being called to this style that appear new. I hope that you are following and that makes sense. More things. So we have a lot of different genders also.
Sim.
That make
Zouk
part
bass.
of this umbrella. So for example, you have zouk bass. Zouk bass is already a fusion between Zouk music and the ghetto Zouk music with drum and bass music. Like Buraca Som Sistema have a lot of songs with that. You're gonna receive an email with a link to download MP3 files in order that you can have a lot of examples of different styles of music and with the respective label of the gender that we are talking about. So we have here Kizomba remixes. Remix is with the X. Remixes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Kizomba remixes. This was very popular now in the new generation. Pop music, the original pop music, that some DJs and producers introduce some Kizomba beat on it, ghetto Zouk beat on it, call it as you want. So music that is very known from R&B, from pop, start appearing a lot on the dance floors. Also Panza. Panza, it's like an evolution or a new generation of marabenta music from Mozambique. And mainly in the urban Kiz community, you will listen a lot of Panza music to do urban Kiz interpretation. Cabo Love. Cabo Love was a genre of Cape Verdean music to imitate the Zouk Love music. There was a natural evolution of the music to slow down the BPM in order that becomes more romantic and you can take it also to the clubs. So the Zouk music suffered a transformation of Zouk Love. And like this, the Zouk Love, it's mainly the Zouk music, but slower BPM and more romantic. And the Cape Verdeans pick up the Kola Zouk, and they also made the Cabo Love, so the more romantic. And this was huge on the 90s and the beginning of 2000. The main dance floors, the main clubs, they were like 80% playing Cape Verdean music because this was a huge success. Then you have something that is Cabo Swing. I already talked about Gil Semedo, Cabo Swing or Cabo Pop. Then something that is quite new also, that is the douceur, that is more or less this feeling of the Zouk Club but with a new name. Mainly the French create, because it's even lower tempo. Douceur in French means sweet. So it's sweet music in a way that is really, 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 really slow tempo. Kizomba music will happen between a range of 90 to 110 BPMs, and douceur will be in the range of 60 something BPM. So you can see that is really slow tempo. Even the Cabo Love, you will find around the 80 BPMs. That is already really slow. And the douceur, it's really, really, really slow. So it's something that they almost don't move. Again, music associated to the dance. And this is evolution that happen quite often. And we're gonna get there. You have other styles like Mumbaton, that is a mix of reggaeton music that have a high kick and very strong instrumental. There are a lot of subgenres inside of this Kizomba umbrella. Again, as a resume, Kizomba umbrella music are the ones that you find on a social dancing that you can do an interpretation inside of the Kizomba dancing umbrella, because after you have a lot of different styles also. Compa, yes, you are speaking here about compa. Compa can be here, so could be including on the top of Zouk, because compa it's like, it's before the Zouk, but it makes part here if you play compa, because you will interpret also. I'm not telling you that is correct or that is wrong, but if a DJ play a compa in the social, you will dance as a Kizomba, and it's okay. But compa have a way of dancing also. Zouk have a way of dancing. If you go to Martinique, to Guadeloupe, the native people will dance Zouk in a specific way, much more minimalist also. But if you go to any place and you listen to Zouk music, you can do an interpretation of Kizomba, okay? But compa, yes, you can have here compa also.
Okay.
Compa. Some people write with a K, some with a C and with a S on the end, but I like this, compa. Good. More things. Okay. So, like I was saying before, the traditional rhythms suffer some evolutions by the fusions with other influences, creating new stuff. Now, this new stuff also receive other influences and other evolutions, creating extra new stuff. So it's like having influences from the influences, and what starts happening is that you start going far and far away from what is the roots. That's why we need to go back sometimes to understand. Picking up here some examples, I want to show you what is the traditional samba, okay? A disclaimer here also, I already sent you in the videos that a lot of people think that the difference between, this was the top question of everybody that sent the top question by email, the difference between Kizomba and samba, because you have Kizomba that are faster tempo than some samba, okay? It's not always like that, but it happened. So I will show you a video from Yasman Santos where he shares some musicians showing the most important instruments in, let me prepare here the studio, the most important instruments in the samba. Take this samba traditional, the traditional samba, and it's gorgeous to see that and to understand. So thank you very much, Yasman Santos, for having this. I'm gonna show you now. I need to play, sorry.
Podes tocar samba, uma demonstração? Muito bem. Ok. Que babel.
Sorry, I just realized now that the mouse was there on the top of the video. Sorry about that. So, as you can saw here, some of the instruments that made part of the samba from the roots, they are still being used and they bring a specific sonority. And it's important to understand that. But then other instruments were added, like the guitar on the 50s, and this is the moment that the samba started being a ballroom dance, when the sonority, the group start creating this more melodic, and it changed from a carnival dance also to the ballroom to dance in couple and having the live instruments. Something important here, okay, I have another video here, again, from some collection of videos that I had from YouTube, in order that you can see here some of the difference between the way of playing the instruments. And this way of playing the instruments will allow you to give a different environment. And this different environment will allow you to pick up some of the things that will make you easier the life to understand the difference, okay? So here now I need, oh my God, I'm there. Next time I need a technician here to help me.
Ricardo is doing almost everything.
Everything, yeah.
That's why I'm writing.
Yes, showing you here. So you can listen here, an example of how to play the Kizomba in guitar. Listen the flow. Now I'm going to show you here the difference for samba, that you can have different variations. Already a different energy from the first one. So if you see, the way that they attack the guitar can have different ways. So you can have the scratch way, or you can have using the fingers, and this next example will show you this samba dedilhado. And in samba you can have both ways. I want to show you now an important person inside of the music that is called Carlitos Vieira Dias. He's a musician from Banda Maravilha. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm not showing you. Yes, I forgot to do this transition. But you listen to the music. So you had the scratch and you have the fingers. I'm here in the studio and it didn't change. So sorry about this. So you listen to the first options of the guitar and now you have Carlitos Vieira Dias that is, plucking strings, that's it. That is one of the musicians from Banda Maravilha that is one of the best live bands from Angola to play samba.
Que eu vou fazer é o samba da Angola.
You will not listen. You will not listen this way of playing the guitar in Kizomba. And I don't know if you noticed that he was doing with the mouth the sound of the dikanza. It's beautiful. So, moving on. So you have other instruments, and here you have Yasman Santos. This is the guy, and he's showing how to play the dikanza. This was something new for me, because if you see here on his hand, you can see what the ladies that do the costura. I don't know how to say costura.
Dedal. You know that thing that when we do this with the needle, we have something here that protects our finger.
Yes,
and that's
so
dedal.
Playing the dikanza, they use also
Dikanza, instrumento
that thing on the fingers
que es
in order to
tocado
create a
en el
percussion.
ritmo, repita, y en la actualidad en el semba. Es un instrumento
He's
idiófono
explaining about the instrument. You can find these entire videos on YouTube, Yasman Santos Facebook, YouTube page. Then, the most important part for me on this video is where he shows the percussion different for samba, kizomba, and zouk. Now, he explained on this video something that is important to take in consideration. And this is very controversial because he's saying that the drums are played the same way for these three genders, for samba, for kizomba, and for zouk. I already heard some musicians saying that this is not true. But the fact is that the majority of the contemporary musicians are playing like this. So most of the music that you listen produced nowadays will have this same drum pattern. But the hand drums will have different sonority. Also, one of the differences that I was taught at the beginning regarding kizomba is that kizomba music you will not find hand drums or the dikanza. But nowadays this is not quite true because you will find a lot of productions that might have the dikanza and might have the drums. And this will confuse us as listeners in order to make the difference. So we will need to have other tools to understand the difference that we're going to talk a little bit forward. I'm going to show this part complete in order that you can see, and you will watch that the drums are the same, but look to the hand drums that will have a different pattern. And this pattern will give a different energy. But most important, when you show the hand drums pattern with the drumsticks and you implement other instruments, immediately you will be traveling to a different environment. And this is the thing that for me personally helped me to understand if it is a kizomba, a samba, or a zouk. Okay, so I'm gonna play this and I will shut up in order that you can feel it.
Ahora verán la diferencia de estos ritmos tocados en la conga, pero siempre manteniendo el mismo patrón de la batería, en este caso semba. Kizomba.
So that's it. This video is gold. Thank you so much, Yasman Santos, for sharing this kind of information. I hope that you can be able to find more the difference, and that you understood what I was saying regarding the different instruments that make you travel to a different environment. So what comes next? What we want to share with you now is the tools. You can change. The tools that...
Let me do it, please.
Oh, sorry.
You are
Beautiful
speaking,
lady.
I assisting.
Okay. The tools that you can have to help you to understand the different rhythms. Timbal in English.
Oh,
Thank you so
nice.
much. The timbal.
Thank
Yes,
you.
timbal. My grandmother have a lot of them in house at home. I was able to play with this kind of instrument when I was young. So, the things that will allow you to understand the difference: the energy and the cadence. While Paula is writing, she can write all of them. I want to tell you something, a story again with Eduardo Paim. We, as dancers, when we go to a festival, for example, and you look to the dance floor, you can find some influences from other dancers. For example, you look to somebody and you say, this guy for sure is studying with Albir, or he's studying with Moon, or with Ana, or with Paula Ricardo, or have more Angolan flavor. So you can see influences on their dancing, because we are trained for that. Okay, we as dancers, we are trained for that. The musicians are trained by the ear. And talking with Eduardo Paim, I was showing him a song and asking him some questions regarding that song, and they were saying, look, this guy, this music here, for sure that the bass line musician is from Cape Verde. And I was, damn, how you can do that, know that? Because the Cape Verdean musicians have a specific way of attacking the instrument on the bass line and bring a certain feeling. So as the dancers have certain characteristics that create a kind of stamp, the musicians also do that. And there is here, I will not call it a problem, but it's a challenge in a way that when you have musicians that are traveling between other groups and they bring their own feeling, they will change the feeling of the final production. Sometimes on purpose, other times without that intent. So you can find also some fusions of coladera and samba. There are beautiful songs that have this fusion. I remember one from Maya Cool and Grace Evora. Also there is a guy called, I don't remember his name now, but there are some fusions between these traditional rhythms that create cola samba, for example, you can call that. So Eduardo Paim was sharing that on his band, he had some Cape Verdean musicians, because Cape Verdean musicians are great, but he had a lot of fights with them in order that they can play with the energy and with the cadence that he wants to don't mischaracterize the final product of his music, because tendency of these musicians were to go in the direction that they were used to. So it was a long work for them to play with the energy that Eduardo Paim was trying to implement. So energy and cadence is the thing that will allow you to understand the difference. The ambience, like we were listing the examples of Yasman Santos, you can feel the difference from Kizomba and Samba. When you go to Zouk, immediately it's like you feel something more from the Carib. Okay, as it's an island from the Carib, the sonority of the other instruments, if you close your eyes, it's like you imagine the the blue ocean with a white sand, with some coconut trees, the hula hula. The hula hula is not from there, but the cocktails, the color of the necklace of flowers. So this makes you travel to a certain place. And when you listen to samba and kizomba, it's something more for the mainland. It's something more from Africa, although you find there some similarity things. So the ambience that you are transported to allow you to find the difference. Good, yes, it's true, Lucy. More, the instruments. The instruments that are used, but this can be tricky, because again, some instruments are used in different styles of music, but then the way that they are played will bring different energy, different cadence, and will allow you to be transported to the different ambience. Like Yasman Santos' video, he showed that the drums were exactly the same. Yes, the drums were exactly the same, but the hand drums had 3 different patterns that allow you to have a different feeling. Then the voice. When you listen to Cuban music, the Cuban singers have a specific timbre of voice. When you listen to Cape Verdeans, they are not all the same, but there's something that creates a connection between them. And if you listen an Angolan singer and a Cape Verdean singer, they have differences. I don't know if it is because of the food, because of the weather, because of the DNA, whatever, but have specific things that make you understand that it comes from a certain place. Like the Portuguese fado. It's a specific timbre of voice. Of course, there are people from other parts of the world that they can do it quite similar. But that timbre of voice, the Portuguese have more easiness to do that. Okay, so for sure in your country, you have your folkloric music that have a specific timbre of voice that people from that region will have more easiness of doing that. So the voice also allow you, and even the same singer can have different interpretation on the voice depending on the style that you want to present, okay? Because in samba you have, for example, lamentos that are speaking about sadness, obit of death. So you can have different styles inside of the samba. We don't have time to go through there, but for you to understand, you have the traditional samba, you have the carnival samba, you have Kazukuta, that is like a fast samba. It's not the same, it's a different rhythm, but it's different. Then you have the slow samba. You have the samba song that you almost don't have velocity. It's really like a ballad, but it's still a samba. So there are a lot of different possibilities. And like I told you at the beginning, you will get confused. But it's important for us that you know that this exists and it is the beginning of your research. Okay? Mesmo pelo sotaque, Ana Bilce is saying here, even for the accent, you can find the difference. Of course, if you don't understand Portuguese, if you don't understand French Creole, Cape Verdean Creole, it will be more difficult. But for us that we understand that, or for those that understand that, immediately this will be like a...
It helps.
Yes.
It's a guideline.
Pista.
It's a
clue.
A clue.
It's like a clue of what direction you can go. And then is the language, like we were saying here. So usually the Cape Verdeans sing in Cape Verdean Creole or in Portuguese. The Angolans, they sing in Portuguese, and if you go more to traditional music, they go to Kimbundu. Some musicians that are from other regions, they can sing in Kikongo, for example. But it's like that. If you go to the Zouk music, most of the times it's sung in French Creole or really in French. And then you have variations like the Ghetto Zouk music have the influence from the hip hop. On the same song, you're gonna listen Portuguese, Cape Verdean Creole, English, sometimes Spanish. So there is more fusion regarding the language. It's more ghetto, okay? So, something that allows us, like the musicality for dummies. Já não tem mais nada aqui, não? The musicality for dummies. Yeah, the musicality for dummies. So, if it is like the feeling inside, will allow us to have like a more stop. It's like one of the instruments is popping more than the other. So here, it's more Kizomba. If you have the feeling like outside, independent on the velocity, and the instruments are more or less like in the same tone, you're gonna have a samba. But then if you have something that make you travel more to the Caribbean, here it's possible that you have the zouk. But if it is like African feeling, but with more sweet, more ocean. Maybe you are talking more about
Cape
Verde, the Cola Zouk. So there are here some things that will allow you to understand. I will show you here some examples just to make a little bit more of confusion to you. For example,
good examples, please.
this one. Is it playing? Yeah. This was the first song that I listened inside of the Kizomba umbrella since ever. So when you listen to this, do you remind more like Caribbean or more African?
You can stay here by the chat.
And even you can get difficulty because you have a strong Zouk influence here. But then you start listening to the voice. So even if you don't understand, he's singing Portuguese, so for sure it's not from the Caribbean. So it have like a Zouk feeling. It's Portuguese. So let's bring to the side of Africa. Can be like Kizomba from Angola, can be the Afro Zouk, can be the Cape Verdean Cola Zouk. So I listen to this and I'm not really into the Caribbean. Have a little bit of Caribbean, yes, but then you listen the Portuguese.
The language.
Don't transport me to the smoothness of the Cape Verdean melody voice. Have a strong beat, but it's also different from the Angolan Kizomba. So this, it's inside of the Afro Zouk because it's Tabanca jazz.
From
Okay?
Guinea-Bissau.
Guinea-Bissau. Then you have this example. So this could be a Zouk, yes, because it's more or less like Caribbean. But I will place the voice.
This seems what kind of language?
So this is not Portuguese, but it's Portuguese Creole from Cape Verde. And also if you find the difference on the sonority of the voice, you will feel that it's different from the previous one. It's more sweet, it's more relaxed, more from the ocean. So this would be a Cola Zouk, and by the way, it's from the group Livity that were the creators or the ones that start this movement of the
Cola Zouk.
Cola Zouk. And if I play this song,
one way.
What do you think?
so it's something more happy, but do you think that it brings more to the Caribbean or more Africa? Maybe you feel like more like this, more Caribbean, the cocktails, the flower necklace, and then the voice, it's not Portuguese, it seems something like French. So because it's saying, I imagine somebody with a mouth like this, and this is the song that made the name Zouk associated to Zouk. Zouk la Selseme de Kamano Nui from the group Kassav. Some people listen to this and they think that it's samba because it's fast. But samba, I will show you a samba more or less with the same velocity. Immediately here, the hand drums. The kanza, you have the accordion, and now so this I hope you understand the difference. So it's difficult to pass two words, but listening one and listening other, and with this MP3 folder that you will receive, you're gonna be able to create some boxes. And when you have difficulty, try to compare. This is closer to this or this is closer to that. Then we need to take in consideration that sometimes it's really a fusion between other rhythms, like I was telling you. Oh my God, it's still playing. No. Like I was telling you of the the coladera and the samba. So the musicians can be doing on purpose some fusion, so you can get confused for that. But I want to show you something that is important here to understand, because we are running out of time. And if we use, for example, this song, where it is, to show you the difference of the percussion changing.
And while Ricardo is trying to find, it's for me, it's like if I use all these tools, it will help me to understand what kind of music is playing, yes? Because I see first the energy, I feel first the flavor, if it's from Caribbean, if it's from Africa, and then I try to understand if it's more savannah, more sea, and then the language. The language helps me a lot, of course, because I understand English, but I don't understand French Creole, but I understand the oui, du close, du mot, yes? And also the instrumentals that I recognized from the dikanza, all that instruments that Ricardo spoke about that help me to understand. And I see there are several items that are these that can help you to distinguish, yeah?
Before I show you the one that I wanted to show, I want to show before something. So remember that I told you that Eduardo Paim started creating a kind of kizomba, something influenced by Zouk, but he was highly influenced by the Congolese music, because he was born there as their parents were isolated from the war. And this was one of the biggest success that he had, the song that is called Carnaval from SOS. So listen to this before the Zouk music influence.
Thank you, Lucy.
Very Caribbean.
Caribbean. The language.
So one of the things that was a huge difference from these first kizombas appearing in Angola was the use of drum machines, the introduction of electronic equipment on the production. So the drum machine is a small box where you can choose a pattern and you can choose the velocity and substitute some kind of percussion. And this was something that was a new implementation on the production, because samba music never used electronic equipment. So this was something new. But now listen to a song from Eduardo Paim that was a huge success from him, and understand the difference and the proximity also to that song of Zouk la CLC Médicament Nui. So this is like the one that I show you.
It's very similar.
It's very similar, but have differences. Start on the voice, start on the energy in certain parts. So
The language.
the language, and this will allow you to have this difference. And a lot of people confuse this with samba, but in fact it's not. You don't find there the matrix of samba. Showing you different styles of samba. For example, a carnival samba. And now a samba slow tempo. This is still a samba.
Antigamente tudo era diferente. Vai velha e sentar na cozinha, na ilha passeio a tardinha. Só o prenda cabia na sombra do Kizomba. Josefina não era Fifi, Maria não era Meuri. Mas hoje em dia, o que vale é o VIP. Atolado abusou da grife, na revista vai dar da exibir. É por isso que o jovem tem trombose com 20 anos. É por isso que o Cota apresenta um pong e não aceita engano.
Now I want to show you, so listening to this, when you listen to this next song, let me know what you think that it is. I will allow you to answer.
On the chat, please. The energy, the cadence, instruments.
Minha paixão, ternura, vício, sei lá, loucura.
For sure the difficulty here is between Kizomba and Semba. So let me know, is this a Kizomba or a Semba?
Vou madrugar contigo, és o que me mantém vivo. De cor de mel, de sol, és todo dia de bom. No meu coração entraste sem eleição, reinaste, dona
Please, we want more answers. Come on.
mudo, mulher dos meus sonhos,
Is it a Kizomba or a Semba?
pra mim pecado imoral, veneno.
We have two answers.
Sereno,
We want more.
Now a song from the same artist, let me know what you think and let's try to find the difference.
Bora, bora, dançar o som que essa artista cantou, no compasso de quem produziu.
So this is the same artist, Ivan Alexei, okay? So in the first one, let's study the beginning of the music. Let's study now the beginning of the other music.
The second music.
Bora, bora,
The velocity is more or less the same, and I think this second including have lower BPM than the previous one. Now let's play the first one more forward, a little bit more in the middle.
minha paixão, ternura, vício, sei lá, loucura, o teu calor me atrai.
And now the second song, more in the middle.
Bora, bora, dançar o som que essa artista cantou. No compasso.
So, the first one, it's called Alucinação, and by the way, it's a new version of an old song from Paulo Flores and Ruka Van Dunen, and in fact, it's a Kizomba. And the second one, it's a Semba. So the energy of each one will bring different feelings. Of course, the
Yes,
second one,
Magda.
you listen the dikanza properly and you listen the hand drums because it starts like that, so it's a big help. But even if you start listening the music in the middle, you will still find them. Some songs you cannot listen so clearly, the dikanza, but you feel the motion that dikanza gives. If you go to Yasman Santos' YouTube channel, you will find the musicians from Banda Maravilha explaining that, for example, the piano player tried to bring the dikanza feeling to the piano notes. Some try to do that with the guitar also. So it's about the energy that the dikanza brings to the music, even if you don't listen to the dikanza. Okay? Now, the Kizomba, the one that is Alucinação, and this is very controversial because sometimes you listen explanations from people that know that what they are talking about, and sometimes it's not so clear to understand. But this song, Alucinação, tell me if you don't feel that there are something in the percussion that pop up. Samba music, usually the percussion is more constant. Kizomba music, speaking about Angolan production, okay? Kizomba music, usually in the percussion, there is one instrument that pop up.
Entraste sem eleição, reinaste, dona total de tudo, fiquei cego, surdo.
So this is one of the things that I try to distinguish between Angolan music. We cannot forget, Kizomba from Angola was highly influenced from Zouk. We could have the same discussion if we speak about Kola Zouk or Kizomba from Cape Verde and Coladeira, because some of them are really Yasman Santos. I can write it here. Are really similar. Yasman Santos. Good. So it's normal. But now, I want to do also something that maybe will relax a little bit your feeling. If you go to Angola and you play these two songs and you see the native people dancing, they will not change their way of dance. Okay, because the sonority is very similar. So in fact, it's not so important to find the difference, because the way of dancing, it will be the same to one and to another. But then if you play a tarraxinha, they will dance differently. If you play a ghetto zouk, maybe the Angolans will have more or less, the Angolans to ghetto zouk will dance as a tarraxinha. They will not do steps like we see here in Europe with the ghetto zouk music. So they use slower music with stronger beat to dance tarraxinha. But if you place zouk music, zouk music, samba music, and kizomba music, or even kola zouk music, the way of interpretation will be the same. Okay? So this to tell you that we don't need to stress so much. Now, we just need to take in consideration that there are some rhythms, and some of them I will share in the MP3 folder, that seems like this, mainly when you don't have the knowledge, and now I will confuse you a bit more, rhythms like coupé de calais, sucus, panza, so sonorities that seems like you can interpret it as a kizomba, but in fact this music is not to be danced in couple. And if you are in a community, or if you are in a place that is mainly frequented by native people, if you go to Africa or if you go to a native party, my advice, before you start dancing, stop and look around. See how the majority of the people interpret that. Because it's awful, we as white people, to go to a native party and everybody pointing the finger to us because we are disrespecting something and we don't know what you are doing. And sometimes it's just because you don't know and you want to have fun. If you go to a normal club, do whatever you want. You are free to have fun. But if you go to a native party, it's a question of respect for the culture. And if you don't see nobody dancing in couple, don't dance in couple, okay? Because it's not like this. Are patterns that we need to respect. It's just an advice. Of course, at the end of the day, you do whatever you want. Now, I want to do here another important information. One of the questions that most appear in the top question was connected to urban keys music. Again, this is my perspective, and Paula, of course. Our point of view does not exist urban keys music. You have certain styles under the Kizomba umbrella where you will have an interpretation of urban keys dance. Make sense? So you will find people dancing urban keys to panza, to tarraxinha, to ghetto zouk.
More to electronic music.
Kizomba remixes. I forgot to tell here that one big turnover. Yeah. It was 2013 when LG Beatskila and Estonia released the music Dança Kizomba. I have it here somewhere. Dança Kizomba, that was the big revolution as LG Beatskila start implementing dubstep music to the ghetto zouk music. So you had something like this.
Show me you want to step, just me and you.
And Even the LG Beatskilla after made his own version of, because the instrumental is from him, the voice is from the Stony, and LG Beatskilla.
Let it go, let it go. You say that when you're at the club, you're not look.
So, as a new sonority appear, the dancers start feeling that in a different way and they start creating new styles. So here we are speaking a little bit about the dance just to clarify the urban keys point. We, Paula and Ricardo, before the existence of urban keys, back to 2007,
Urban Keys Dance.
using the strong beat tarraxinha music from DJ Paparazzi, for example, we start implementing different moves because the music was giving us a different feeling. But we were still calling it Kizomba to that. You had Tony Pirata that also had a different style. You have the Angolan dancers that have a different style.
Even Morenaço.
Morenaço that is Angolan have a different style from the other Angolans. You have Zé Barbosa, Quenda Lima, Tomás Keita, even Albir and Sara Lopez. So each one of us, we have different feelings, different interpretation, but it still was calling Kizomba to that. But then in 2013, there was a big change on the music and a big change on the way of dancing. And like it happened with the music back on the late 70s, that the older generation said, look, young kids, this is beautiful, but this is not Samba, you need to arrange another name. The older generation also said, look, my dear friends, this is not Kizomba, arrange another name. So the urban Kizomba, Kizomba 2.0, French style Kizomba, blah, 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 blah. And the name that create followers and create a new label was Urban Keys. And good that it happened because maybe some of you nowadays are listening to what we are telling here because you were called to this community due to a new generation of music that you connect more. And as you connect through that, and you start falling in love and you want to research more, now you are using your time here to listen to what we say regarding the backwards knowledge. And I can tell you that, like we were in 2007 using electronic music, we love electronic music. We love to be creative.
Yes.
But with the years, we have been improving this understanding on the fusion. And I'm talking now about dance, okay? Just to open a little bit.
Not stalking, but talking.
Talking about dance. Just to open here a little bit the door that we love to do fusion. Mainly because we love performance. And we love to perform on stage, to do shows. But since the beginning, we split very well what is a dance show performance on a stage from what is a social dancing. And it's important to define that. Even in our social dancing, we do fusions. But fusion is when you pick up something, you connect with another thing, and you create something new, take in consideration. We always use this example. A lot of you already listen, but I never get tired to tell. If you pick up a tango step and you do it in a Kizomba song, this is not a fusion. It's a tango step in a Kizomba song. But if you pick up a tango step and you adapt the ginga, you adapt the body energy, the movement, in a way that somebody that don't listen to the music look to you and say, these two are dancing Kizomba, because they see Kizomba and that. Although the step, the combination, was influenced by tango. So this, in our point of view, is a fusion. Now, there are styles like Albir, he create this label also of Kizomba fusion. It's a label of his style. It's not a question that is a Kizomba fusion what he's do. No, he create this thing that he create, that a lot of people love it, that he have a lot of followers. He's an amazing dancer, he's an amazing instructor, and he pick up certain styles of music that connect to this style of dance, but he still is so humble that he went to study again. I know that he made some courses with people that have an amazing foundation on the roots, and he was able to understand better the roots in order that he can do even better fusions. And this is the responsibility that all of us have. But also, we have the responsibility of having fun. So when you go to the club, as far as you respect the others, you can do whatever you want, as far as you are having fun. Take in consideration the place that you are, in order that you don't disrespect the culture, okay? So we are getting to the end, and unfortunately...
Thank you for your words. You are all very kind, and I think you understood about the urban keys. And yes, somebody answered already to Unar. Yes, we already spoke about the difference of tarraxa and tarraxinha.
So we will we're gonna stop the live, and this same link is the access to see it again. We're gonna allow this webinar to keep available during 7 days.
This is the answer to somebody that asked also.
But you will receive also an email, pay attention to that. Everybody that made the registration received the email with a link to download the MP3 folder where you have the name of the song, the name of the musician, and the style under the Kizomba umbrella, or not, because we have there other styles that don't make part of the Kizomba umbrella, but make part of the Kizomba parties, okay? That you can find these genders on the Kizomba parties. Thank you very much for your time, because investing 1 hour and a half of your time to be here listening to what we have to tell you, we really hope that we could clear some of your ideas. We really hope also that you are more confused, because when you are confused, you open the door to be able to research more. And for those that made questions more connected to the dance musicality, stay with attention, because tomorrow, Sunday, we're gonna send you an amazing offer opportunity, because we are celebrating 15 years of Afrolatin Connection, ALC Dance Studios, and like that we want to celebrate with you. We want to give you tools that you can improve your dancing, because most of the countries cannot dance socially, like here in Portugal, and for sure in the place that you are, but this will pass and we need to be ready. And also, this is an advice. When you start being more advanced on your level, it's the moment that you get more maturity to understand the basics. So I give you the advice to go back to the roots sometimes, back to the basics, because you will pick up things that you were not able to understand before. And when you improve your basics, your advanced moves will look awesome. And I can tell you that during this quarantine, as we had the need to teach like online, we need to arrange other ways of communication and use exercises, and going back to the basics with different exercises, also forcing ourselves to practice that. And during these 3 months at home, our dancing had an evolution that was, whoa. I don't recognize myself dancing comparing to 3 months ago because of this extra work that we made. So this is an advice for you also. Small investments of time will allow you to have much more fun after, okay? So 3 things. Use the same link, watch your email to get the download, and watch your email tomorrow to see what we have to offer you, okay? Muito obrigado. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You were very, very kind. Thank you very, very much. And thank you for having or giving to us your time. Thank you very much. Pay attention to your email. Mwah.
Levez chercher en plein la nuit, grâce à pas dis-moi qu'est où par là. Et au soir là où fait bagage, la vie aussi changé le langage. Mais dis-moi y'a pas vrai.